Hey everyone, thanks for coming over to the Growth Mindset Podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I'm Coach Dave March. First of all, if you're new to this podcast, I bring on different types of leaders, different types of founders that are interesting, that have some great things to say, as we all try to turn our visions into action, which is my book here, Vision in Action. We are going on our hero's journey to bring our vision into action. And today's guest, we have Aaron Cook. Aaron is the technical production and design, VP of technical production and design at LDJ Productions. Aaron, if you want to introduce yourself to the audience, please go ahead.
Absolutely. Hey everyone, like David said, Aaron Cook. I head up LDJ Productions technical production and design disciplines, so both our technical side and our creative side. A little bit technical creative side in a creative agency for live events. A little bit out of the norm for our industry, but it's really important to me to pair the technical and the creative early on, so we're developing real solutions that are totally actionable, obey physics, and are on budget and on time from the very beginning, so that we are more efficient in our timelines and our budgets and our execution once we get on site.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, now with everything going on, I think that we need more people coming in person, going to events and such. And that's just like all about staying human. This is what we talked about a couple of times. When we go to these kind of events and such. Talk to me a little bit about the difference between, the virtual events that you've done and kind of the in-person events that you've done.
My company was very lucky to make it through the pandemic in the way that we did. We came out actually with a higher headcount because we were able to transition into digital and virtual events, which was a very difficult time for my industry, obviously with everybody else. But obviously my industry is entirely about getting people together in a room and having conversations and having experiences. So the switch to virtual was really difficult and was several years of us all just trying to figure out how we could even do that. Much less sort of perfecting the form. As you pointed out, getting people in a room, IRL, being human, that is connecting human to human. That is the hardest thing to replicate in a virtual experience. Actually, we were just talking about this, David, the one-to-one versus one-to-many kind of interaction. A virtual event, a webinar, is sort of necessarily a one-to-many thing, and so it can be really hard to network and connect with the other people that are in the audience because you're not physically next to each other. So the transition back to IRL has been really, really good for that kind of thing. But there were some positives too. One of the big things I always like to call out when people talk about how glad they are that we're back to fully real, which 100% is a great thing. But one of the biggest things that it did for our industry was it opened up a lot of doors to people that otherwise would not have been able to attend some of those events, right? People with any sort of handicap, any sort of inability to fly or get to that place, whether that be physical or monetary. So it opened up a lot of doors. And so one of the things that I am really hoping for that we as an industry do is, as we return to live, we're maintaining some of those virtual hooks so that people can still join and still have those opportunities to connect human to human, even if they are remote. We still have a lot of work to do in making sure that that's a fully accessible thing. But that to me is, you're spot on. That's really the main thing. Is it's all about connection. It's all about those moments that happen between the conversations at the events, and so we have to do a good job of returning to live in a whole way, but also still supporting the virtual audience in that as well.
Yeah, and when we talk about in-person events, I think that one of the things that a lot of people see that it's kind of under wraps is making it look easy. Right. I mean, there's a lot of principles of just staying calm, because at the end 24 hours or 48 hours, everything goes awry. And so if you want to speak about your experience about solving the problems, getting things done at the last minute, where everything's falling apart, I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Oh, thank you. The thing that's funny about that is I'm kind of giggling because if things are falling apart 24 hours out, that feels like an infinity. You've got all the time in the world to get things. Like if you need to get a truck from another state, you can still do that if you've got 24 hours. Where it gets really dicey is you're 5 minutes from showtime, right? Like doors are open, people are in the house, and then things start to go off the rails. That's when it's really out of the frying pan into the fire, to use a southern phrase. South Carolina.
South Carolina.
So I was thinking about this the other day, and I always think about this this interaction I had when I first moved to the city, to New York City. One of my early bosses and colleagues was telling a story about he was on site, things were going terrible, and his client walked up to him and said some version of, you always look so calm, how do you do it? He looked her right in the face and said very calmly, I'm faking it. And that always really stuck with me. It's just such a hilarious way to compartmentalize how we have to handle those moments, whether it's on site or any sort of crisis management. I think as leaders, you have to be able to be that calm in the storm. That to me is like one of the fundamental things about leadership, is even if in your head, you're panicking a little bit, chaos begets chaos. So if you start panicking, if you show everybody else that you don't have it under control, you don't have a way forward, that's going to cause other people to start thinking they need to act for themselves, that they don't have central leadership. And that is, particularly when you've got 5 minutes to figure something out, that is the worst place to put your team in. Even if you don't have, look, you will never have a good plan. You're going to have imperfect information. You're going to have big gaps in your ability to make comprehensive decisions. So the goal is to have a system of thinking. So you have an approach to think about how you're going to think about things, not like a comprehensive every step checklist, everything that could ever go wrong. That's not practical. So really it's just about making sure that you have your system of thinking in line, so that when things go wrong, you just work through your list and get people to do the things they need to do, stay calm, and make sure that the clients see you staying calm and solving problems.
Yeah, no, that's so true. It's what is that? Stay calm and move on, or something. There's always that the picture on the shirt. Yeah, that's what I always see. Someone says that. But it's definitely important. To have the system of thinking. I think that having a system of thinking is really important. I mean, that's almost like going back to the infrastructure piece. We were talking before the call. Having a good infrastructure in place, so that you can go through that checklist, really helps to alleviate any kind of concerns.
That's a great way to put it. I think I'm going to take a mental note. Calling it sort of a mental infrastructure instead of a system of thinking, I think actually makes a lot of sense, because it's a framework you can build on, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm full of this stuff. But yeah, and then one of the other cool topics that we wanted to go on to is coaching as management, particularly your philosophy on managing creatives through a balance of structure and freedom. I always thought that was great, because the way I see it, it's like, if you're an actor trying to improvise, you have to know your lines in order to improvise, right? So the structure of the lines creates the ability to improvise. So I always thought it was interesting. What's your take on it?
That's a really interesting example. I'm going to go on a little bit of a windy path here, but you just kind of connected some dots for me. When I think about that, what I think about is I saw a Van Gogh exhibit in Amsterdam years and years and years ago, and it was all of his early, I guess, pencil drawings from when he was a student. And it was before he was, I'm not an art person, but before he was an impressionist or whatever, however you categorize him. And so it was all really excellent, very realistic pencil drawings and shading and all these things that Van Gogh is very definitely not known for. And I forget if it was him or somebody else, but the main point, him or somebody else that said this quote, but the main point of that exhibit was that you have to know all the rules before you can start breaking them. And so I think about it
Yeah.
the same way that you just went through that, right? Like, you have to have the structure in place to give creatives the space to innovate and break rules and all that stuff, because like that's the way their brain is working. So you need to give them that ability to kind of chase down the wild dream, but you also have to give them just enough structure to keep them on the rails and make sure that we're hitting all those deadlines. One of the specific reasons why I like to combine the technical and the creative really early on is you kind of build in some of those guardrails of the conversation between the technical director and the creative director is, here's this crazy idea I have, and the technical director gets to go like, great, here's a version of that we can do. It's that back and forth that I think makes a lot of sense. I think that my philosophy on how we approach those kinds of things has changed quite a bit. I come from a technical background. I have always aspired to be a creative person, guitar player, band, all that kind of stuff. So like I have some creative in me, but the technical side is just more my background. It's just I know the way my brain works, the way it approaches problems. So I have to like really proactively make sure that I'm giving the creatives that space. So the way I have come to think about it, and we can get into some of the deeper reasons behind this if you'd like. My whole philosophy is coaching is management. Creatives just do not do great in a system. I've heard it called a command and control structure, just the hierarchical structure of I'm your boss, I'm telling you how to do this, you owe me this thing that meets this KPI by this date, you're just always going to run into friction there. But the other side of that is if you give them too much freedom, if you don't talk to them for a month and you go back and you're like, great, how's this going? They're going to chase things that aren't always relevant. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. So the way I look at it is I approach it from a position of more conversations, smaller conversations more often. So instead of having a one-on-one every 2 weeks just to be like, how's this going? I'm trying to check in for 2 minutes, 3 minutes every single day. And the point behind that is give them just enough structure. You're having those conversations to guide the thinking. How are you thinking about this? What's your approach? You're not dictating behavior. You're not correcting past behavior. You're just saying, tell me about this. Tell me about how you approached it this way. That's awesome. Try this. Just remember this thing. Then check in the next day. And the reason I think that works is because it gives them enough of those guardrails, of a guide to kind of keep on the path, but still we have the time to remind them over and over again about the guardrails that they have to work within. The biggest benefit that I see of this is we never get to a point where we've gone 2 weeks, there's a problem that's been brewing and we've missed the opportunity to solve it. We get to correct it in sort of micro ways as we go, instead of getting to a point where it's like, okay, now we have a problem and we actually have a problem to solve. We're getting ahead of it in that way.
That's fantastic. I mean, fits right into the whole leadership philosophy that I talk about. It's, I have a whole episode on the difference between old school leadership and new school leadership. And essentially, fear-based leadership is all the things you talked about. It's authority, it's intimidation, it's, hey, you didn't do this, what's wrong with you? And you didn't speak to them the entire time. You're just like, get this done, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And so, there's no coaching in that. It's just like that. And it's not really the leadership style and the management style that I like, but unfortunately that's what is out there a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that more kind of leadership style that's out there. Yeah.
That's the world I came from. I mean, I think events is already a very stressful environment to work in. It's so much work to get up to the moment, and it's a lot of hours of performance in a lot of ways. That's why there's a really close tie to theater, I think. But the world that I came up in was very much I have more seniority than you. You're going to do it my way. I might get some messages about this as people see this. But the second company I ever worked for, a lot of people there referred to it as the pirate ship, because the only way you could ever get ahead was to kill the pirate ahead of you. And so there was this competitiveness, there was manipulation, there was yelling, it was fear based, it was all of those things. And so as I was becoming a leader, as I was taking leadership roles, it was a model of everything I wanted to make sure that I wasn't passing on. And I like the idea of thinking about it as old versus new leadership, because I gotta feel like there's a lot of people out there like me that experience the old style of leadership and are now getting into the leadership positions and saying, I don't want to pass any of that on. And I'm wondering if that's how some of those new philosophies are hopefully taking root.
Yeah. So, yeah, totally. And I think that's kind of what drove me too. And I mean, and I have another video that talks about turning karma into mission, uh,
Nice.
because one would say it's been my karma to meet all these old school leaders, so that it could be my mission to talk about new school leadership.
That I love that. That's
Yeah, yeah,
what a positive
yeah.
spin on that.
There's a positive spin on it. Yeah, turning poison into medicine is what they say. Um, but yeah, so yeah, it's the kind of the new school kind of leadership is really coaching as management in a sense, as you're talking about. Um, more inspirationally led, more heart led, more like more emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
um, and thing I talk about a lot is psychological safety too,
Absolutely.
because at the same time it's like, if you are yelling or berating someone, or like you're doing those things, they're not feeling safe around you, they don't want to make any mistakes.
Mhm.
And without feeling that safetyness, if you will, you're actually stifling creativity,
Yeah, you
which
need
is,
to create that. So well said. You have to create an environment that people feel comfortable taking risks, which means you have to create an environment where people feel comfortable making mistakes and failing and not hitting the mark. And you cannot do that under a fear-based leadership or sort of a command and control structure.
yeah, yeah, totally. So yeah, I mean, this is what I'm all about. This is the leadership I'm talking about.
And I literally was having a conversation yesterday with a group of our employees about psychological safety. And I was thinking about how it connects to such a prescient conversation, thinking about how it connects to this sort of coaching mindset. And I think that I think you can look at them as different facets of sort of the same thing, right? Like it's not necessarily that one is that the coaching as management is like building psychological safety, but you can't do it that way if you don't have it. And one of the things that I like to think about a lot in those moments is I think it's very important to me to admit and say straight up when like I don't fully understand a thing, or I don't know enough to make a decision, or I don't have an answer, and then go through the exploration of trying to find that solve together, because it's important to me to model how it's fine to say you don't know, how it's fine to say, oops, I missed the mark there. I apologize to people when I make mistakes and when I miss things. And that to me is a really big part of both coaching as management and psychological safety, is you have to model that we're all fine here. We're all figuring this out as we go. My job is just different than your job. My job isn't to tell you what to do. My job is to make sure that we're all meeting, the overall business goals. My job is to steward the work, and your job is to take those risks, to engage in the wild thinking, and then we'll all get it back on track together when we figure out the answer. I think those two things are really closely tied together.
Yeah, yeah, I believe so too. And um, I think that's the key piece, there, because there's so many things out there. I think that's like the Six Sigma, or I think it's Six Sigma, where it's like 99% of it doesn't, you don't make a mistake. It's like there's so many things that are out there that are like, you know, you have to be perfect and you can't make any mistakes. Um, and it's like, you know, that's actually taking away the humanness I make mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
I,
I, I am wary of people who are afraid to admit that they make mistakes.
yeah, yeah. It's like, mm, you know, um, that's what AI is doing. Like, AI is AI because it's too perfect. It doesn't make any mistakes.
Well, I agree with you. I think that, and kind of building on what I said a second ago, I think it doesn't make any mistakes, but like it does make mistakes, but it won't admit to it, right? It's like the thing you
That's
hear about when a lawyer gets in trouble because they use AI, and it like it wouldn't spit out, oh, I don't know about any cases decipher this thing, so it just makes them up, and it
that's right.
pretends that it knew the answer the whole time, and that's one of the scariest things to me about AI is people are just
That's a
like
good point.
taking it at absolute face value as, oh, well, it's AI, it has to be correct. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
No. Yeah.
They call that
Like,
hallucination, which I've always really liked. The AI model is hallucinating
yeah.
answers. I think it's a
That is
really good way to
interesting.
put it.
That's a great way of putting it, actually. Wow. Well, Aaron, I think this has been a great episode.
I'm glad to
This
hear.
is this is a great episode. We talked on things about event planning, creativity. We talked about leadership, all the good pieces. So I think we're good to close on that note. Um, you know, if someone's interested in working with you, Aaron, where would they find you?
I'm on Blue Sky. You search me by name. I'm just not a big social media guy, but LDJProductions.com is our website. New website to launch in the next month, by the way. And you can follow us on all the regular social medias. LDJ Productions. If anyone wants to reach out directly, Aaron, AARON, at LDJProductions.com. And I'd love to talk to you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for your long attention, and we're signing out. Bye bye.